Alright guys, so we got a lot of big news this time around, including the Steam Deck, a few games, and cross-platform play to one of the longest running games of this generation. After that quick intro, let's first talk about Warframe. It's finally getting cross-platform play and cross-save support later this year. And this is pretty big news because Warframe has been around for about 8 plus years, and it's now finally getting cross-save and cross-platform play. I think this is really good for keeping Warframe's ecosystem afloat. Console players that want to move to PC can finally do it, and it might prompt people to buy more and not be afraid to move on to PC because, oh, I missed out on a ton of Prime Warframes, I have a lot of progress on my old save, but I don't have it on the new PC, and so I think this is just really good overall, and I'm surprised that PlayStation even allowed this to happen, but hey, you know what? I think cross-save and cross-platform play should become a thing. But, obviously it's still a hurdle that we're getting over because Sony's kind of like, no, and then we're like, yes, and so I think this is overall a good move, and I hope that more companies do this for their games. Next on the list, I'm going to talk about The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword HD. So it's an HD remake of the original Skyward Sword for the Wii, and I don't really have much of an opinion about this. Sure, people are going to buy this, and people who like Skyward Sword are probably going to love it again, but I don't know. It gets released to some fanfare, so if you like it, you'll like it. If you don't, then you won't. On to more games that are going to be coming out soon. Gundam Evolution, a 6v6 free-to-play FPS, is coming to 2022 for PC only so far. And let me tell you, it's new Overwatch, boys and girls. Easy. I'm going to go so pro in this mode, in this game. I'm going to show everybody to the world I'm a pro gamer. But so, I'm actually surprised that Gundam Now is getting a, a multiplayer game now. I thought that by now this would have happened, but hey, you know what? Looks pretty interesting. Taking the whole Gundam series and basically turning it into an FPS 6v6 mode. So, we'll see exactly how they execute it and whether or not it will be an Overwatch killer. But it's only been announced in Japan so far, so we'll have to see if it does get a worldwide release. Next on the chopping block, let's talk about Netflix and how they're adding games into their lineup of movies and TV shows. So this is pretty significant because Google Stadia and Amazon Luna are the only two major streaming platforms at this point that stream games. Now, Netflix throwing their hat into the mix can prove to be very substantial, right? So Netflix already has a huge user base of video and TV show watchers, and now adding games to that mix, suddenly, you got a whole other market or you have an existing market. And so this is going to be really, really interesting to see if Netflix can actually provide games at a stable frame rate resolution and without much controller input lag. And yeah, I'm kind of excited to see this. But again, I'm not sure if this whole subscription service is going to actually work today in this time frame, because it's still got issues, right? But if they somehow find a way to kink out the issues and fix all the problems that I did list, then hey, you know what? This will be a great way to incentivize streaming platforms to get games on there, and hey, who knows? We'll maybe not need consoles and not need to buy expensive computers to be able to play our favorite games, but I'm not sure. We'll have to see how far this gets. And next on the list of games from Ubisoft, there's going to be a new Tom Clancy game. At least this is what's being said. And there's going to be a reveal July 19th, 11:15 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And, I mean, if you look at the gameplay trailer, it's kind of interesting. Let me just turn off the volume. So, it kind of looks like COD, essentially, in, like, the gameplay format. But it's got a lot of ability, so it looks like kind of like Apex Legends with like a regular ability, ultimate ability, then there's a grenade. I wonder if there's going to be like a passive ability too. So I wonder if this is going to try to do what Apex did in terms of like basic ability wise, but then try to get the gameplay of COD and play it like that. I don't know exactly what's going on here, but it kind of looks fun, but I don't know how long it'd keep my attention for, but we'll see if Ubisoft can actually enamor the public and if this game will do good. We'll see. And finally, for our lineup of games, let's talk about Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl. And this is the Smash Killer. Nintendo, just stop making your games. At this point, Nickelodeon's going to come out with this game. Your whole game series is just dead. You make a new game from Ultimate, never gonna sell anything. You better try to put Nickelodeon reps in there, because otherwise, you are not gonna survive. But so yeah, Nickelodeon's trying to make a Smash Brothers like game, and looks interesting at the very least. And if I remember correctly, the developers do want to make this game competitive, and I'm all for it because there aren't many Smash-like games, right? Sure, we have like Guilty Gear Strive, Tekken. Is it 7 right now? We have a bunch of fighter games that are kind of related to each other and like how the combat works and whatnot, but of course with different mechanics and underlying mechanics. But there haven't been many Smash-related games. We have like Rivals of Aether, Brawlhalla, but those games haven't really gone super far competitive-wise. Sure, they are very popular games, do not get me wrong, but particularly with like Brawlhalla, that competitive scene is just kind of not there. It's there, but it's just very small. Rivals of Aether, very small too. Though, if Rivals of Aether 2 comes out, I do think the competitive scene can flourish. But yeah, we'll see whether or not Nickelodeon's big name will be able to attract multiple people to play competitively in this game. Because if it does, hey, look, maybe it'll get Nintendo to fix their netcode, and, maybe put more time into Smash Ultimate's competitive scene. Who knows? I think this proves to be a very interesting move by Nickelodeon and whatnot. So finally, what I want to talk about today is the Steam Deck, which is Valve's answer to the Nintendo Switch. And I think this looks very interesting, and you can start reserving one of yours right now if you do think that it has the potential to do really well. But let's move on to what it actually is. Basically, it's just a handheld PC. It's going to be running Linux, and you can plug it into a monitor or TV, and you can basically use it as a PC. Basically, essentially what the Nintendo Switch does, just without the PC part of it. Now, you could place a like $5 or $10 down payment and then be able to get it somewhere in 2022. Originally, they tried to strive for a December 2021 release or shipping date, but then they had to move it to 2022. And it's going to be a 7-inch 1280 by 800 touchscreen, trackpads with like the Steam controller, full-size analog sticks, and its button layout's a little interesting. Instead of having like the control switch down here and then the buttons, they're right next to each other, so that's interesting. But let's move on to the hardware, because I'm pretty sure people want to know what's the difference between the Nintendo Switch and the Steam Deck. But for reference, the Steam Deck has a AMD Zen 2, 4 cores, 8T CPU, 2.4 to 3.5 gigahertz, up to 448 gigaflops FP32. The GPU is an 8 RDNA 2 CUDAs, 1.0 to 1.6 gigahertz, up to 1.6 teraflops. It's got 16 gigabytes of LPDDR5, really interesting, and you can get 64, 256, and 512 gigabytes of memory innately in the system, and you can expand it with a micro SD card. Its display, as mentioned, was 7 inches diagonal, 1280 by 800, a 16 by 10 aspect ratio, with a 60 hertz LCD touchscreen. It's got the regular audio stereo speakers with that packs a punch, and a 3.5 millimeter stereo jack. Its controls, as I mentioned before, it's got 2 analog sticks, a D-pad on the left side, and the regular 4 buttons. But it's placed really weirdly, where the buttons are placed next to the analog sticks and not like above or below. And then it's also got its trackpads, which is found on the Steam controller, which is very interesting. And for wireless connectivity, it's got Wi-Fi, Bluetooth. It's got wired connectivity with the USB-C display port. Its battery is about 40 watts per hour, which is 2 to 8 hours of gameplay. Its size is about 11.7 inches by 4.6 inches by 1.8 inches. That's all the measurements in millimeters. And it's about going to weigh 1.47 pounds. And so I think this is very interesting. The general market for mobile games has either been on the phone and just recently on the Switch. And knowing how well the Switch is doing, the Steam Deck has the potential to do very well on its own. The main argument being that many people do wait for, when's the Switch version coming out? And so I think that if this sells pretty well and Valve supports this, it'll no longer be, when is this coming to the Switch? It'll be, can the Steam Deck handle it? And so particularly indie games like Slay the Spire, Hyper Light Drifter, and games like that, I think have the potential to do really well. Even Doom Eternal and stuff that got ported to the Nintendo Switch might fare better on the Steam Deck due to its just generally better hardware. And I think that this has the potential market to take away some of Nintendo's customers, but the Nintendo Switch does have Nintendo first-party games, and there's no way that Valve will be able to steal those customers away. So little kids that want to play family-friendly games, Nintendo Switch is still for them. People that do enjoy the Nintendo games in general, Nintendo Switch is still there. But if you're looking for indie games, not necessarily exclusive to the Switch, and you want to play it on the go, the Steam Deck will be able to fulfill that role. And so I really do hope that it does well, because it'd be really interesting to see if other companies will try to get in on the mobile hardware aspect. Because I know, at the very least, Sony was trying to do that with the PlayStation Portable, which did well, and then the PS Vita, which didn't do as well. And so I wonder if the Steam Deck does well, I wonder if Sony or Microsoft will try to throw their hats into the mix again, or if maybe like Amazon, Google, even Netflix, maybe might try to, mooch in on the mobile hardware aspect. So we'll see what the ramifications of this are, but I do hope it does provide more competition, because the Nintendo Switch being the only mobile hardware, I think there should be some more. And so the Steam Deck might be able to do this, but unfortunately, it doesn't quite run AAA games. Such games like Destiny 2, Battlefield, and Call of Duty. It's going to be able to run, I think, games like Doom Eternal, Control, Jedi Fallen Order, or indie games in general. But I don't think it's going to be able to run any true AAA games. Unfortunately, you're going to have a true gaming machine or console to play that. But it will be interesting to see how well this does. So, that'll be the end of this video. Very interesting stuff happening. The Steam Deck got announced. We'll see how well that does. Ton of games and a ton of features are being added, and I do hope that crossplay and cross-save make it through and become a industry standard. And then a few games are releasing, some of them very competitive, like the Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl. Gonna go competitive in that. And so, yeah. I really didn't think much interesting news was going to come out now, but I was wrong, and I'm very happy about that. So I do hope more interesting news comes out, and if it does, I'll be here to tell y'all guys. So come stick around, and you'll get some more interesting news. Anyway, I'll see y'all later. Have a nice day.